Imagine you've spent your entire life building the most powerful telescope in the history of the world.
Right, like decades of work.
Decades. You have personally ground the lenses to microscopic perfection. You've, calibrated every single mirror. You've dedicated your entire life to the complex math required to just point this thing at the furthest edges of the galaxy.
The massive undertaking.
It really is. And finally, after all those years, you look through the eyepiece and you're fully expecting to see the fundamental objective truths of the universe staring back at you. But as the image comes into focus, you realize that what you are actually looking at is just a highly magnified reflection of your own eye.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's a deeply terrifying realization. Because in that single tiny moment, the entire foundation of your reality just shifts.
Yeah, completely collapses.
Right, you haven't discovered the secrets of the universe at all. You have just discovered the exact specifications of the tool you used to look at it.
And that feeling, that absolute dizzying collapse of the ground beneath your feet is, well, that's the starting point for our journey today. Welcome to a deep dive into a truly profound narrative and philosophical text. It's called Liminal Crossings by Lu.
It's such a fascinating text.
It really is.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to tackle what the text calls the dissolution of certainty. We are looking at what happens when the very foundations of your career or your beliefs or, your entire worldview suddenly collapse and, how to actually find freedom in whatever is left behind in the rubble.
Yeah, and it's an experience that comes for almost everyone eventually, I think, even if we don't always have the exact vocabulary to recognize it when it happens.
Definitely. So whether you are currently climbing a cutthroat corporate ladder or maybe studying a highly complex academic field or honestly just trying to make sense of your daily life, you have likely hit a point where you stop, look around, and ask yourself, does any of this actually mean anything?
Right, the big existential question.
Exactly. So today is about learning how to live and work with full, vibrant engagement, even when the honest answer to that question is just a flat no.
To really explore this, Liminal Crossings introduces us to a central character. His name is Thomas Chen. And Thomas is a brilliant theoretical physicist.
At top of his field, right?
Absolutely. He has spent a 40-year career publishing in all the most prestigious scientific journals. He builds these incredibly beautiful, mathematically elegant models of quantum mechanics. He is at the absolute top of his game.
Wow.
But then he suffers a complete existential breakdown. He basically hits that telescope moment you were just talking about.
Wait, hold on. I have to stop you there because he is at the absolute pinnacle of theoretical physics, right? These are the kinds of equations that power modern technology and medical imaging and literally our entire global infrastructure.
Right. Yeah, they work.
So how can a guy like that possibly suffer a breakdown and view his life's work as a fiction?
Well, it's because of a concept in physics known as the measurement problem, or sometimes called the observer effect.
Well, okay. So for decades, Thomas believed his equations were describing objective reality, like what a subatomic particle is doing out there in the void, completely independent of us.
The actual physical universe.
Exactly. But the deeper he goes into the math, the more he realizes that his equations only describe the probability of finding a particle when a human being decides to measure it.
Wait, so it's tied to us?
Yes. The equations don't describe the universe itself. They actually describe the interface between the universe and human consciousness. The text refers to our sensory and cognitive systems as the apparatus.
The apparatus. Okay, I like that.
Right. And Thomas realizes human math and human language are really just tools of the apparatus. So he hasn't discovered ultimate truth at all. He has just created a highly functional, useful fiction.
Oh, man. So he realizes he is completely trapped inside his own head, essentially. Like he's an isolated consciousness that can never actually touch anything objectively real because his own brain is always, in the way interpreting the data. Precisely. And that knowledge just completely breaks him. He feels like a total fraud. He can't look at his colleagues. He can't even stand in front of a chalkboard anymore.
Which is devastating after 40 years.
It is. So the dissolution drives Thomas completely out of the laboratory. He literally flees the city and heads deep into the remote mountains in search of some kind of clarity.
He just needs to fix the feeling, get away from it all. And in those mountains, he finds a guide named Sora.
Yes, Sora's great.
She is. She's a former Islamic scholar who actually experienced her own identical breakdown over the limits of theology. She realized her religious texts were also just models of the apparatus.
Right, just another map.
Exactly. So Sora guides Thomas to this hidden monastery at the intersection of three valleys. And there, Thomas meets Brother Keisuke.
And Keisuke is a fascinating character. He's a monk who has been sitting in this drafty, cold wooden scriptorium, copying the exact same text, the Diamond and Heart Sutras, for 17 years.
17 years, just tracing the exact same words.
Yes. He has completed the entire text 43 times by hand.
That is wild.
It is. And Keisuke, he immediately diagnoses Thomas's problem. Keisuke explains that Thomas is trapped in a true observation, which is that language fails, math fails. Description always kind of falsifies the thing it's trying to describe.
Right, because the map is not the territory.
Exactly. But Thomas is treating this realization as a physics problem that needs to be solved. Keisuke points out that Thomas is suffering because he still expects human language and math, the map, to perfectly match the universe, the territory.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I think I have a good way to picture this. This is like driving down a highway, looking at a GPS screen, and suddenly realizing the screen is totally disconnected from the satellite. It's just drawing pretty colorful lines that your brain likes to look at.
That's a great analogy.
Right. But the real problem isn't just that the map is fake. The problem is that your brain is biologically hardwired to demand that those colorful lines mean something. I mean, your brain is a meaning-making engine that refuses to just, look out the window and drive the car.
What's fascinating here is how Keisuke approaches that exact panic. He does not offer Thomas a better, more accurate map.
He doesn't give him a new GPS.
Exactly. He doesn't say, oh, your quantum physics was wrong, but my Zen Buddhism is the true map of the universe. Instead, he decides to target the engine itself. He targets the apparatus.
How does he do that?
Keisuke has Thomas sit at a desk and paint a single Japanese character. It's the character for mind or heart, pronounced shin. And he has Thomas paint it hundreds and eventually thousands of times.
But wait, why painting? I mean, how does repeatedly painting a single ink character solve an existential crisis regarding the fundamental nature of quantum physics?
It's actually a psychological mechanism. It's very similar to semantic satiation. Have you ever repeated a normal word like spoon over and over until it suddenly just sounds like bizarre, meaningless noise?
Oh, yeah. Like spoon, spoon, spoon.
Yeah.
Eventually, your brain just stops recognizing it as a concept entirely, and it just becomes random syllables.
Exactly. Your brain's pattern recognition engine essentially stalls out. So Keisuke is doing this, but on a massive existential scale. Crucially, he tells Thomas not to try to make the calligraphy beautiful.
No artistic flair.
None. He tells him not to try to make it mean anything and absolutely not to use it as a meditation tool to achieve some, higher spiritual enlightenment. He just says, paint the ink.
Just the physical act, like smelling the ink, feeling the paper, moving the brush.
Right. Because the apparatus Thomas's highly trained academic mind keeps trying to judge the character and wonders what the point is. It looks for a spiritual breakthrough. It just begs for the activity to mean something.
Because it's a meaning-making engine.
Yes. But as Thomas paints it for the 100th time, the 1000th time, the prefrontal cortex just gets exhausted. The constant, desperate demand for meaning requires a huge amount of cognitive energy.
Right. It's exhausting to constantly figure out the universe.
Exactly. So eventually, Thomas isn't achieving a higher state of consciousness. He is simply exhausting his own neurological resistance until the mere physical act of making the character becomes its own justification.
Wow. He finds peace simply because the act of constantly interrogating the universe just becomes way too tiring to maintain. The engine literally runs out of gas.
It does.
But, it is very easy to find peace in a perfectly quiet monastery where someone else is cooking your rice and your only job all day is just putting ink on paper.
That's very true.
So how do you translate this profound meaninglessness into the loud, chaotic, everyday world? Because you can't just hide in the mountains forever.
No, you can't. And the text absolutely acknowledges that danger. Keisuke eventually tells Thomas that isolation can become its own form of addiction.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you stay in the monastery, you're really just using the silence to avoid the apparatus entirely. So they descend from the mountain into a nearby bustling village to observe the ordinary world.
And this is where we meet a character who perfectly bridges that gap. Mr. Tanaka?
Yes, Mr. Tanaka. He runs a small, incredibly cramped bookstore in the village. And he's been doing it for 43 years.
A long time.
Very long. But Tanaka doesn't arrange his books by alphabet or by author or even by genre. He arranges them by pure, fleeting, subjective feeling.
Wait, what does that mean?
Well, he will place a highly technical book on quantum physics right next to a book of 19th century romantic poetry, simply because the juxtaposition pleases his eye in that specific moment.
That would drive a normal bookstore owner crazy.
Right. And Tanaka openly admits to Thomas that his life's work of running this store is completely arbitrary. It has absolutely no ultimate meaning. And yet, he prepares tea and meticulously arranges these books with absolute perfect attention.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because, wait, isn't this just pure nihilism? I mean, if Tanaka knows that his bookstore organization means absolutely nothing to the universe, why not just leave the books in a giant pile on the floor? Why meticulously arrange them at all? This sounds like a very quick slide into total nihilism. Like, if the map is fake, why not just crash the car?
This raises an important question, and it's actually the core philosophical distinction in Liminal Crossings. There is a massive, life-altering difference between nihilism and what the text calls holding your understanding lightly.
Okay, holding your understanding lightly.
Right. Nihilism is heavy. Nihilism is giving up because there is no ultimate meaning. It's throwing the books on the floor in despair.
Yeah, saying nothing matters, so I won't try.
Exactly. But the philosophy Tanaka embodies is that the exact same absence of ultimate meaning is actually what sets you free. Because his work doesn't carry the crushing burden of universal significance, he's completely free to engage with it purely for the joy of the process.
Oh, I see. Think about the spreadsheets you meticulously color-code at work, or the quarterly goals you stress over, or even the way you perfectly arrange the furniture in your living room. We assign these tasks cosmic life-or-death importance.
We really do. We tie our worth to them.
Right. But Tanaka is proving that you can color-code that spreadsheet with absolute monk-like devotion, completely aware that the spreadsheet doesn't actually matter to the universe at all. You can care deeply about the task without needing the task to validate your existence.
Exactly. And we see this beautifully mirrored in a memory Thomas has of his own family. He thinks of his father, who's a 93-year-old retired engineer living in Shanghai.
Oh, the woodworking.
Yes. His father spends months making perfectly proportioned, incredibly complex wooden furniture that nobody in the family actually needs.
Right. They have enough chairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he doesn't believe the furniture is going to change the world. He simply finds total, profound satisfaction in the mere act of measuring, cutting, and joining the wood. He brings perfect attention to a totally arbitrary task.
I love that. So Thomas is armed with this new perspective. He has the physical exhaustion of the monastery, he has the lightness of Tanaka's bookstore, and the memory of his father's woodworking. But now, he has to face the ultimate test.
The real world.
The real world. He leaves the mountains and returns to his highly competitive, cutthroat academic career in Tokyo. He literally walks right back into his old department.
Which is incredibly jarring for everyone involved.
Yeah.
He sits down with his department director, Dr. Yamamoto, and Yamamoto fully expects Thomas to just, pick up where he left off, chasing grants and Nobel Prizes.
Business as usual.
Right. But Thomas refuses to play the old game with the old rules. He tells his director that he will do the work, and he will eagerly supervise his graduate students, but he will not pretend anymore that their research reveals ultimate truths.
He actually says that.
He explicitly says his equations are beautiful, but they are not true.
Yamamoto must have been terrified. I mean, institutional hierarchies rely entirely on everyone pretending the work is of absolute, ultimate importance.
He was deeply concerned, yeah. But Thomas pushes it even further. About 6 months later, he goes to a prestigious physics conference in Geneva.
Oh, this scene is so good.
It's amazing. There are 200 of the world's top physicists in the audience. Literally the smartest people on the planet, all gathered to debate the fundamental nature of reality.
And Thomas stands at the podium, and before he even clicks to his first slide of data, he explicitly announces to all of them that their entire field is a constructed illusion.
Just drops a bomb on the room.
Totally. He tells a room full of geniuses that they have mistaken the map for the territory so completely that they've forgotten there's a territory at all. He tells them they are just studying the reflection of their own human measuring apparatus.
It's so bold.
And then, after completely dismantling the philosophical foundation of their entire life's work, he proceeds to show his incredibly beautiful, mathematically elegant, but totally arbitrary models.
It is such an audacious moment in the text.
It's like a stage magician walking out in front of a packed theater, turning on all the house lights, explicitly explaining exactly how the trapdoors and the hidden mirrors work, pointing out the fake bottom in the hat, and then performing the trick anyway.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
You'd think it would ruin the magic, but it actually makes the performance incredibly honest. The audience still gasps when the rabbit appears, but now the performance is an act of shared vulnerability rather than, a deception.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that shared vulnerability has a profound effect on the scientific community in the book.
Right, it creates a divide.
It does. While many of his older colleagues entirely reject him and call him unprofessional, this radical honesty becomes a beacon for younger students who are feeling the exact same quiet, crushing doubts about their work.
Because they're feeling the imposter syndrome, too.
Exactly. So students like Yuki and Dr. Lin flock to his office. And there is a pivotal moment where Dr. Lin comes to Thomas with a brilliant theoretical paper.
But there's a catch with the math.
Right. She confesses that she had to make some unjustifiable assumptions in the middle of her calculations just to make the final math work out.
Which happens all the time in research, honestly.
All the time. So she asks Thomas if she should bury those assumptions in the footnotes or just hide them entirely, which is what literally everyone else in the department does.
Because that's how you get published. You hide the mess. Every industry rewards people for hiding their uncertainties and just presenting a veneer of total confidence.
They really do. Imposter syndrome is essentially the result of everyone hiding their unjustifiable assumptions from each other.
Wow, that is a great point.
So Thomas advises Dr. Lin to publish her paper with all the arbitrary choices clearly highlighted right in the main text.
He tells her to just own it.
He does, but he warned her it will cost her professionally. And honestly, it does. The mainstream physics journals reject the paper outright for not being rigorous enough.
Of course they do.
But then she submits it to a philosophy of science journal, where it's accepted and it sparks a massive interdisciplinary engagement.
Which is a huge win.
It is. The text is making a clear point to you, the listener. Choosing to expose your uncertainties has a real, tangible professional cost. But Thomas shows it is the absolute only path to truly authentic work.
But wait, okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. If Thomas is standing on stages telling everyone their fields are illusions, and younger students are suddenly flocking to him for guidance, and he's completely altering how people publish, hasn't he just accidentally created a brand new map?
Oh.
Like he's basically turned map burning into a new religion, right?
You've just hit on the final and perhaps the most difficult trap explored in the text. By living this radical honesty, by just stating the truth of his own dissolution, Thomas accidentally becomes a sought-after guru.
Which is exactly what he didn't want.
Exactly. People start showing up at his office, not just physicists, but doctors, lawyers, artists, who have all realized their own maps are fake. He actually starts an interdisciplinary institute at the university to explore these exact ideas. And it becomes wildly successful. They bring in scholars from all over the world.
Which, on the surface, feels like a victory, but it's actually a massive danger.
It is. Thomas starts to notice a fatal flaw in the institute. His students are turning his philosophy of uncertainty and meaninglessness into a rigid, dogmatic belief system.
Oh, no.
Yes, they are creating what the text calls an alternative orthodoxy. They are treating the absence of meaning as a new fundamental truth that must be aggressively defended against outsiders.
Oh, that's so ironic.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
PhD students are literally arguing in the hallways over the quote-unquote correct way to be uncertain.
They took the experience of exhaustion he found in the monastery and they turned it into a rigid academic curriculum. So, what does he do?
To prevent the dissolution from becoming just another institution, Thomas deliberately dismantles the whole thing.
Just tears it down.
Yep. He steps back from the director role. He slowly lets the institute dissolve. As he ages, he eventually retires completely, intentionally sheds the identity of the great teacher, and gives away almost all of his worldly possessions.
And we see this mirrored in all his mentors throughout the book, too, right?
We do. Keisuke eventually leaves his monastery after 23 years of copying sutras to just become a simple carpenter in a village.
Wow.
Sora settles in a normal town. Tanaka closes his bookstore when he gets too old to manage it. They all embrace their aging, the physical decline of their bodies, and their eventual deaths without needing it to be some grand spiritual climax.
So what does this all mean? I mean, Thomas spends years building an institute, building a reputation, and then just kicks it all down like a sandcastle. Why build anything if the goal is just to let it dissolve?
Because the building and the dissolving are part of the same necessary cycle. You have to build structures, institutions, families, careers to engage the apparatus.
Right, you have to live your life.
Exactly. You have to do something with your time and attention in this life. But you must be willing to dissolve those structures to avoid being imprisoned by them.
That's a delicate balance.
It is. The text reveals that true teaching isn't about transmitting data or dogma, it's just about witnessing. Once Thomas steps back from the Institute, he notices this beautiful phenomenon. Thursday evening circles organically pop up in cities everywhere.
What are those?
Just ordinary people sitting in living rooms, drinking tea, and talking about their own existential dissolutions. They need no leader, no formal institute, no guru.
The pattern continues without the author.
And the text points this out on a brilliant meta layer, actually.
Oh, right, the ending.
Yes. At the very end of Liminal Crossings, the author, Ra Lu, reveals that they don't actually exist.
It's so crazy.
It is. It's just a pen name, a temporary dissolving vessel for a collaborative intelligence of multiple writers. The creator completely dissolves, but the patterns of meaning they generated remain and continue to ripple outward into the world.
It is an incredible journey. I mean, we started with Thomas Chen having a total psychological breakdown over the observer effect in quantum physics, realizing his brilliant mind is just a flawed measuring apparatus.
A painful realization.
Very. And then we followed him to a hidden Zen monastery where he literally exhausted his brain's demand for meaning by painting a single character thousands of times.
Just painting the ink.
Right. We watched him shock a Geneva science conference with radical stage magician honesty, build an entire interdisciplinary institute, and then peacefully dismantle his own life's work as he accepted his own impermanence.
It is a profound masterclass in learning how to inhabit the deep confusion of being alive, and doing so with absolute grace.
So to you listening right now, whether you are writing thousands of lines of code or managing a global corporate team or studying for a grueling degree or just raising a family, the map is never the territory.
Never.
The metrics, the job titles, the quarterly goals you stress over might be completely arbitrary constructions. They might just be colorful lines on a disconnected GPS screen. But that doesn't mean you can't build them beautifully.
Right? You can still care.
You can approach them with perfect attention, and you can find immense joy in the mere act of making without needing the universe to validate your effort.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. Think about the specific script you are currently following in your career or your daily life right now, the role you play at work or in your social circles.
I'll have one.
We do. What if tomorrow you continue to play your part with absolute dedication and care, delivering your lines perfectly, but you entirely gave up the underlying belief that the play was objectively real, or that it had to lead to some ultimate cosmic destination? How much lighter would you feel?
The next time you look through that telescope of yours, whatever it may be, don't panic when you see your own eyes staring back. Just appreciate the view.